our next speaker, actually we're going to stay on the topic of FinTech, so as much of the other tech topics we're going to have just after the break. So our next speaker is Cecilia Peregrina, who will talk about bank and asset managers and digital assets. Cecilia is an experienced lawyer, focusing mainly on the financial sector, after having worked for more than 14 years for a reputable Swiss firm, where she advised many companies in the industry. She joined PwC in the FinTech, blockchain, and digital assets team. With no further ado, Cecilia.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. So I have this difficult subject, always legal and not practical. You had this very nice presentation from Alpine and from our Swiss brands. I'll try to keep a bit practical, and it was very interesting to see Alpine's practical implementation, and actually I'll try to share some of our own clients' practical issues. So, legal plus reg. So of course, I thought about digital assets. Why am I speaking about digital assets today? I'm a strong believer in digital assets, and I think digital assets is not anymore just big coins for geeks in the basement with the computer. It's also coming in the institutional players. So that's a small research that was done with PwC, and we see that more than 93% of global financial institutions are somehow interested in digital assets and or, I would say, blockchain, because of course those are two different topics. And 18% of those are actually really offering crypto-related services, and that's what I'm going to talk about, while 82%, which is the biggest part, is looking into the blockchain. And so you see that crypto is not blockchain and blockchain is not crypto. And of course, we think that maybe digital assets, it's the US and maybe some also offshore jurisdictions. So now we listen about Lithuania, that is one of those countries really growing with digital assets. But actually, we also have quite a lot of established players already in Switzerland, not only in the financial sectors, but here you can see a wall of other sectors like industry, marketing, and then, of course, financials. And given that that's my subject, those are, it's not exhaustive, that's why I put etc. Actually, maybe some years ago, I could put 3 of them, or maybe even 2 of them only, and there was the whole PowerPoint presentation, and now there were too many that I couldn't put them all in the PowerPoint, so that's why I put etc. There are some of them, I'm sure you know, that are really concentrated only on the crypto digital assets, that is mainly, I would say, SEBA and Signum and crypto finance, Taurus also, but then you can see some other actors that are actually active in the traditional banking system and that offer also some crypto-related services. You can see Bordier or Zaratini here. And so, the idea here is to present you how do you think about implementation, how do you implement a new digital asset line of services. So first thing, you're going to tell me how digital assets line of service is super different than what I already have. Why would I come into the digital asset services? Actually, it's not that different. On the right side, I try to put the traditional financial services compared to the digital asset services. So on the one side, you have banks. So it's true, I mean, banks, asset manager, that's basically all the FINMA regulated activities. And now, if you move to the digital asset services, you have some other types of providers. It's not only bank, it's not only FINMA-regulated entities, but you have also some exchanges that might be regulated or not regulated, wallet providers, and also other FinTech companies. Maybe Alpine could be part of those other FinTech activities. So you go from dollars, Swiss francs, to Ether, Bitcoin, but at the end it's the same thing. You have the deposit versus the wallet, but again, you have a parallel. You make exchange, you make payments, and now in the future, you can make exchange payments with digital assets like crypto, Ether, Bitcoin, whatever. And you also have power of attorney, so you can also do asset management advisory with digital assets. So basically, all the services that you have before, you can translate them into this digital asset world. And like I'm a good Swiss without watch, I didn't listen about the branding of Switzerland. I still have 10 minutes. Okay. So products. You can launch products. So basically, that's the line of services that I imagine, at least the most popular one that we can see coming with PwC with the IDs. And so first thing, which kind of digital assets and which kind of services do you want to provide? Do you want to provide a product? For example, products could be an AMC or a fund or an ETF, so that's products that you will sell to the public and public will buy. And those products would be invested in digital assets, whatever. Then you can do trading. So that's the trading. You exchange, you buy Bitcoins, you sell Ether, you buy Swiss francs, and etc. So that's the trading part. Then custody. You create a wallet. I'm sure you all have heard about that word, wallet. Yeah? Okay, super great. So it's basically instead of your bank account, now you have what we call a wallet. But it's the exact same thing, except that you don't have Swiss francs on it, but you have Bitcoins or Ether or a super long list of things that you can put on your wallet. And the last thing is also portfolio management. You can advise people on how to get some exposure to the digital assets. So I would say that's the four main kind of digital assets line of services that you can imagine. Of course, you can do only one. You can start with 4 of them, or only with one. So if you want to start a new business, think, what kind of services I'm going to offer? Maybe you can start with a small one, that's the wallet one, and then you build up, you do with the asset management, and maybe you come at the end with the trading, that it's maybe the most complicated one to put in place. You also, of course, have to think which kind of clients. I try to put some professional clients, institutional clients, and retail clients. You don't serve those 3 kinds of clients the same way. Of course, the regulation is different whether you're talking to professional clients and retail clients. So again, maybe you want to start only with institutionals or professional clients, and then you grow up with retail, or you want to start immediately with retail, but that's something that you have to think about before, maybe even before coming to us or discussing with us. And here it's funny because actually that's the whole presentation that you already got from Elpian. Do you buy or build? And basically, I completely agree with what Elpian explained. And here what we see is that you will build your own solution if you, for example, already know that you have a high level of demand from clients. Because, of course, building your own platform, your own systems, might be a bit more expensive, and it will definitely take more time than if you outsource. But if you have a huge client base, it is better to build than rather to outsource. Internal knowledge, I think Elpian insisted on the fact that you need to hire experienced people, knowledgeable people. For the build-on solution, that's obvious. Here I put a no. It was maybe a bit challenging. I really thought about, shall I put no or yes about the outsourcing? I think if you know a bit less, you can outsource rather than build your own solution, but that's why I put the warning. Of course, even if you outsource, you need to understand what your outsourced company is going to do. You need to be able to understand, because you need to check whether they are the right people, they are good people, and they will provide you a good product. So no, but with a warning if you don't know. If you understand, you need, of course, to understand the markets and your customer demands. If you want to start with the digital asset service line, you need to understand the clients, who are your future clients, what do they want, and maybe it's not the same if you are an asset manager than a bank, or maybe a FinTech company or a foreign company that wants to incorporate in Switzerland. Do you already have an existing infrastructure? Yes, then you can build. If you don't, maybe you will want to outsource. And I think one of the, at least on our side, some of the clients that comes to us, one of the critical question is timing. How much time it's going to take me to build my own solution, while versus outsourcing, of course, is faster. So maybe I would start maybe with that question. I see in practice, this is one of the crucial questions. And how important digital assets is within your business. If it's just a new future line of business that you are running, maybe start with the outsourcing and you see it works, and then you realize that you want to build in. And legal, I'm sorry, I have to do some legal. Super fast. Basically, yes, in Switzerland, we do have what we call the DLT framework, so it's a law that is related to the digital asset world, but we don't have a specific legislation in Europe. If you know the European system, you have some laws that apply only to digital assets. In Switzerland, this is not the way we decided to do it. We decided actually to take a law and amend our current law and just twist it a bit to adapt it to the digital assets. So it's all laws that you know, the Banking Act that applies to traditional banks, and you just have some articles here and there that apply to digital assets. But basically, we don't have a specific law. And the second thing is FINMA. I will talk to you about FINMA afterwards, but I have to say that FINMA is a great partner. We can discuss with them. It's not always the case in other jurisdictions. I mean, of course, there are some things that sometimes we don't like about FINMA. Mainly it's timing, but for the rest, we have a great regulator and that we can count on. And we have also the Swiss Banker Association that is doing a great job to try to create some guidelines how to work with digital assets when you are already a bank. So again, timing, perfect. So here it's just a small chart to show you that you have, again, differences with whether you choose a known solution or if you outsource. You see that the red ones are bigger when you have an own solution, while with the outsourcing, you have more pink and less red, meaning that it's maybe easier to implement an outsourcing solution. It's maybe definitely faster. But still, it's not that you can just plug and play and you get out. You still have to think about, you still have to amend things in your own organization if you already are a company. But, okay, so I'm happy to discuss this in a more detail, but otherwise, if I go until all of the points, I'm going to take all the time. So basically, I try to summarize it that way. So license. That's the first thing, FINMA. Do you actually need a license from FINMA? If you are a current traditional player and you already have a FINMA license, maybe you can offer some kind of digital assets without having to go into a whole new application update of your current license with FINMA. So we do see in our practice some banks that, for example, are accepting some clients that comes from the digital asset world. So it's people who made money with Bitcoins, Ether, and they receive that money in Bitcoin, Ether, and they what we call cash out. Cash out means that you exchange all of your Bitcoins in Swiss francs, and then, of course, you have those Swiss francs on a wallet, and you want to put them again in the traditional banking system. It's not that easy to actually do that step and find a bank that actually will agree to open a bank account with your money that comes from the blockchain and the Bitcoins and etc. So there are some banks that do that, that are starting to do that, and it's interesting to help them to understand how it works. Can I accept this money? Where the money comes from? Is there any problem with AML, anti-money laundering laws, and etc.? So that's something you can do if you are already a licensed bank, or you can maybe accept those kind of clients and start with that. And then, of course, if you want to build a new line of services, you need to have the approval of FINMA. You need to sort of upgrade the kind of services that you provide to your clients. So you will have to explain to FINMA, actually, What is your new line of services? How do you implement it? Did you build something? Did you outsource everything? If you outsource, how do you discuss with your outsource partner? How do you coordinate with your outsource partners? And of course, you have to choose your outsource partner. So I would say that if you build a new line of services, definitely you will have to go to FINMA. And if you come from you didn't have any license from FINMA, then depending again on the services that you are providing, you might need a license. So it's an upgrade of the existing one. I put the non-action letter. This is something very nice that FINMA does, and not all regulators does it. You can ask FINMA, I want to do this. I think that it's not regulated. Do you confirm that it's an activity that is not regulated? And FINMA will answer yes or no. And if they answer yes, then maybe you can again twist it a bit to change some things, because FINMA say it is regulated because you are doing that and that. So you change it, and up, you're a non-regulated activities. And so you can offer some services with little regulation. So that's the non-action letter. And on the impact, if you are already a company, you will definitely need to change some documentation. You will need to change your organization, maybe because you want to hire some people that knows about digital assets on the IT side, on the asset management side, and etc. IT, again, if you are working with some outsource partners or building, you will need to upgrade your IT system. Capital requirements, that's a huge discussion. If you are a bank or a securities firm, if you want to do trading with digital assets, there are some solutions where you can do everything what we call off-balance sheet, so it doesn't have an impact on your capital requirements. But again, that's some discussion that you need to have with us and then with FINMA. And others, we can imagine any other things. Maybe now that, if I still have some 2 minutes. No, 1 minute for FINMA. I have to say that FINMA is, they know what they talk about. When we talk about digital assets, you don't have to explain them what's blockchain, what's Bitcoin. They understand it, and they have seen already many, many cases. And so they are starting to be maybe a bit more difficult than before, more stricter than before, because now they understand what they are doing. Maybe at the beginning they were learning with the people who started. Now it's not the case. FINMA knows, but then you can have good exchanges. And so I really, I mean, you should start the digital assets. I'm really, I trust in that, and I think that's the future. Traditional banking also, but digital assets, it's the future. Thank you.